Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. My name is Diana Maiden, and it's my pleasure to serve as our worship leader for this Sunday's service. One thing I love about this congregation that even on a day of both snow and bone-chilling cold, we have a need to come together to share our search for meaning in our challenging and confusing world. Welcome. I hope we warm your soul today. If you are joining us online, please fill out a visitor form in the link in the description. We'd love to connect with you. Part of our mission is to connect bravely, and we're glad to be sharing part of your Sunday here together. Many of us were once too, seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, but not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time in worship with us or your 100th, or for some of us, 200th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and liberal religious values that challenge you to join in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. The chalice, which is here, is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It's a cup of life, sustenance to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of celebration, a flame of hope, a light to warm our souls and guide us home. For our chalice lighting today, I would like to read a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, excerpted from his famous letter from a Birmingham jail. If you have a hymnal at home, it's number 584, but we didn't put them out today. A network of mutuality. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment to destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it is too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds, which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at the goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. We are a promise-making and a promise-breaking and a promise-remaking people. We are called not to be perfect, but to be faithful. In that spirit, each week we speak our covenant aloud, all together. It is a reminder of the promises we make in this gathered community. In person and online, will you join as one and say our covenant together? We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. UU Church of Boulder, it's very nice to be here with you. In the midst of such challenging times, on so many levels, in so many areas. I'm so glad we are here together in community. I am the Reverend Ruth Rinehart. My home congregation is Jefferson Unitarian Church down in Golden. The church is one of the last intergenerational spaces outside of families where we gather in this country. So here is where you belong, right here, right now. For our opening words, I turn to Dory Midnight in her incantation for the month of Tevet, the Jewish month we are currently in right now. This comes from the book, For Times Such as These, A Radical's Guide to the Jewish Year. This is titled Land Back. Deep calls to deep. Dark calls to dark. All of creation echoes. Blackness is beloved. On the longest night, Leviathan rises from the salty depths. A monstrous roar, restoring balance in the sea. Rise up in us holy anger. Let our rage ripple and wave a collective tsunami, furiously washing the world into mutual flourishing. We wait in the dark, so let the waiting be the thing itself. We are made of stars and sea, so let us swim in the relief of being mystery. Ocean of becoming, luminous darkness, God of sacred monsters. Let us remember how, before we became people of the book, we were people of the moon. The Jewish month of Tevet is for waiting, waiting for growth to emerge from the frozen soil, from the darkness where so much healing and reparation takes place, where the growth swells in places we cannot see. So let us sit back and settle in. We are in anticipation now, aren't we? Culturally. From the ceasefire that has begun today in Gaza, we await to see what comes. From the inauguration tomorrow, we await to see what comes. We need times of waiting. Our bodies need it. We cannot live sustainably in constant reaction and outrage. So let us learn to live in a relaxing state, to receive intelligently, to use the wisdom of our bodies and minds and spirits to arise and act when the time is right.
So some of you may already be familiar with the chant that we're going to open worship with today, come, come, whoever you are. But it's important to note that the entirety of the Rumi quote is, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come. And so we're going to sing the song as you know it. There's also an additional vocal line that some people have come up with that incorporates, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. And I think it's just such a strong reminder as we say each week in our welcome, you don't have to be perfect to be here. We're so glad you're here. Your presence matters so much, no matter what is on your mind or in your heart. We are just here to welcome you, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. Will you please rise in body or in spirit? Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Keep going. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. One more time. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come yet again, come. Come yet again, come. One more time. Come yet again, come. Amen.
Will you take a breath with me? I'm going to share with you a story. It's a Chinese story that's relatively gendered, and it starts with a farmer. And he has a farm, and he has one horse. And one day, his one horse runs away. And the villagers come around and they say, "I am so sorry you lost your horse." And he says, and this is where you will repeat this later on in the story, so listen really carefully. Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you want to try it? Maybe yes, maybe no. The next day, that horse, that same exact horse, comes back with 7 other horses. Wild horses, so he's not stealing them. And these 7 wild horses come into the village, along with the one that he already had, and the villagers say, "Oh, wow, look, now you have 8 horses. You are so lucky." And he says, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next day, his son goes riding on one of these new horses. And he takes him around on this amazing horseback ride. And eventually there's a last little thing that he has to jump over. And his son falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And the villagers all say, "Man, those horses should have never come back. This is terrible." And the farmer says, "Maybe yes, maybe no." I love you're doing the hand motions now too. You are the best congregation. Ruth can't say that, but I can. So the next day, a conscription officer comes to town and is looking at all the young men in the village and says to his son, "I can't take you. Your leg is broken." And after everyone else leaves, the villagers come around and say to the farmer, "Oh my gosh, you are so lucky. Your son didn't get conscripted." And he says, "Well, maybe yes, maybe no." So when I was looking up this story, I found the Alan Watts version of it, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with Alan Watts. And he has a cosmology that I don't fully agree with. But what he talks about is the way that the universe is so complex, and the way that, there's an aliveness and a consciousness to the universe, as he speaks about it, where it knows what's going to happen next in some ways, but we don't. And there's such complexity in how all those things come together and interact with each other that we can never know when something is either great misfortune or great fortune just by looking at that one moment. And I'm sure, Kay, you're nodding your head. There's other people in this room. I know for myself it feels very true that there are things that I can look at in my life where it felt like great misfortune or great fortune, and then it shifted. So we're just going to open with that ambiguity of every moment.
So now is the time for prayer, meditation, or reflection as it fits your understanding of mystery. So let us breathe together. Come into your bodies, settle in. These imperfect bodies, these imperfect vessels that do so much for us, and where we experience all of life. A site of joy and pleasure, sites of trauma, sites of tenderness and confusion. Our beautiful, imperfect, too often painful and broken, our bodies. Feel your seat on the seat. Feel your feet on the floor. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, from whom all things proceed and to whom all things return, we pray. We pray for everyone affected by the violence that humans can rain down upon one another across the globe, those who are hurt, maimed, or killed. Across the globe, those who have taken up arms and suffer the moral injury of hurting, maiming, or killing another human. Our queer siblings across the globe who suffer the violence of being criminalized or bullied or shamed. Our browner-skinned folks around the world, our siblings from the global south. May everyone find in time the healing that can come. All those in the path of natural disasters and the disruptions that come from them. May all those affected find community to help them rebuild as possible. All those suffering from grief and loss, may you find a balm to your soul, knowing that you are surrounded by love and you will get through this. Amen. Namaste. Blessed be. None of us are alone, although it may sometimes feel that way. There is a thread which weaves through this gathered community of broken hearts, a fiber of compassion which comes from knowing and holding and transforming suffering, tying us together as one, an unseen filament that connects every heart breaking with joy and every heart breaking with sorrow. Each week in the service, we set aside time in ritual to make visible the unseen interconnection of our hopes and concerns. For you gathered here in person, I invite you to come forward as you feel so moved, starting with the back half of the room, and then the folks here in front of the window, and then you all in the front. And as you wait, let your thinking quiet. Let your breath steady. Call to mind the sorrows and the joys which weigh you down and lift you up. You may silently take a stone in token of all that is on your heart and place it into the earth, resting in something larger than any of us, a community connected by the concern we carry. For all of our joys. So, here we go. As you feel so moved, come around this side, and then you'll return that way. all those folks out there in this temperature where it is too cold for human habitation, if you're unhoused, we hold you in our hearts. For all of our joys and sadness, we hold this space in love and solidarity.
In the warmth of your presence, I am safe at home. I will stand, I will stand. In the deepest conflict, I am not alone. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand in myself when I'm not feeling strong. I will stand, I will stand. I will tear down the walls and sing a freedom song. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will honor the vision of who I will be. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand with this spark in my hand. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand.
Thank you, Chancel Cats. I will stand in the deepest conflict. I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand in myself. I will tear down the walls. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand. I appreciate Emma's Revolution. That was one of their songs and their lyrics. And here we are, beloveds, in an uncertain time, awaiting a changed world, awaiting what we know not. Now, when I wrote the title and the description to this service, as ministers do, several weeks before the day, No resolutions made sense as a topic to me. I've actually never really believed in resolutions. They seem like invitations to failure and shame, like a setup. Like they seem like the white supremacy culture characteristic of perfectionism. A weapon to be used either in the service of feelings of superiority or feelings of inferiority. I do appreciate intentions as a way to shift away from that bludgeoning rod of the New Year's resolution into a quieter and more thoughtful intention. But sorry for those of you who came for wisdom about New Year's resolutions. I'm going to shift messages here. I want to talk a little bit about our youngest daughter, Amelia. She is 28. She is an independent thinker. Montessori education all the way from 19 months all the way up to graduating from Compass Montessori School in Golden, where we live. She and her spouse and their 3 cats, they don't live with us anymore. After they got out of the Army, where they met, they lived with us for a few months, and now they own their own condo in Denver. And Amelia has consented to this sermon, okay? She has been a strong user of TikTok, and like millions of other TikTok users in this country, had been anticipating the Friday Supreme Court decision. The Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act that was upheld to be constitutional. In the week between those Fridays, the Friday when the Supreme Court heard the arguments, Friday last on January 10th, a true and unexpected cultural phenomenon has emerged. By now, multiple millions, according to Reuters, multiple millions of U.S. refugees from TikTok have downloaded the Chinese app called Red Note. Red Note is the English name. Are there any speakers of Mandarin Chinese in this room right now? Okay. So Red Note is the English name. The Chinese name of the app is Xiaohongchu. And I'm pretty sure I mangled it, but Amelia tells me that if I do mangle that name, it just means sweet potato, so it's okay. But the Chinese app, Xiaohongchu, actually translates literally into Little Red Book. So I was a radical back in the 70s. While I remember Mao Zedong's Little Red Book, and while I did not own a copy, I had comrades who did own a copy. But Red Note is not a communist manifesto. It is a social media app, and it has been used by 300 million Chinese folks since 2013 for daily life sharing, recommendations on travel, and things to buy, no politics. My Chinese friend and nail technician May says that, like TikTok, people share their everyday lives and details, or they share skills. She says she has learned a lot about nail art from Red Note. So the company was not prepared for this massive migration of US social media users. The app was not designed for English speakers. All the instructions, all the texts, all the comments are in Mandarin Chinese. One user says, however, I would rather stare at a language that I cannot understand than ever to use a social media platform that Mark Zuckerberg owns. Well, what has been happening now is a fresh and surprising cultural exchange between regular people from China and from the US, learning about each other's lives, each other's societies, breaking down stereotypes, and learning from each other. They're using a translating app from English to Mandarin and learning and communicating with each other. Amelia has been more and more excited every day since that last Friday. In the past week, watching what is occurring now. She is learning Mandarin now. She has learned enough word and syntax to introduce herself, spoken audio of herself and her 3 cats. And one response to that post was to congratulate her because she has fulfilled the cat tax of Red Note, which unofficially requires photographs of your cats. But there are a lot of compelling moments in these exchanges. Chinese people being able to ask their new Red Note friends whether propaganda they have heard from the Chinese government is true. Is it really true that you all have to pay for ambulances when you need an ambulance? Is it really true that some people have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to support housing and food? The Chinese government doesn't even have to lie about things like this, right? So there are funny moments as well. A Chinese-Canadian man named Jerry, a user of Red Note, made a video welcoming all the new US users and saying, feel free to speak English and post English content because I believe there are a lot more English-speaking people on this platform nowadays, and we need to build this community. So this post of his went viral, with many people believing he was the CEO of Red Note, welcoming them to the new app. And this past Thursday, a Fox News affiliate labeled Jerry as the CEO of Red Note, did a story about him. And then they had to run a new story on Friday talking about the actual real CEO of Red Note. Now, the initial motivation for TikTok refugees to move to the Red Note app was spite. If our government is going to ban TikTok because they're afraid that the Chinese are surveilling us and the data on us, we're going to go to a Chinese app and we're just going to give them that data. That's what we're going to do. But Amelia says that while it might have started from spite, it has continued because of the joy, the true intercultural exchanges that are occurring. She says a very warm response. She has been struck by exchanges highlighting the fact that the US and China, very large countries, are the only 2 countries that have such a diversity of ecologies: deserts, coasts, rainforests, tundras. Every type of ecology and terrain that exists on our planet exists in both countries. Chinese students are now required to learn English in school. It used to be just middle school and high school, now it's in elementary. And one of the teaching strategies is to have students imagine that they are a fictional student named Li Hua. And so they're asked to write letters to Li Hua's pen pals, English-speaking pen pals. And these letters might be asking about, travel, their homes, the society, food, music and the arts, just their families' daily lives. So in this warm response from the Chinese users of the Red Note app, exhibiting this generous hospitality, many of the Chinese have reveled in this cultural exchange, saying, Li Hua's letters have been answered. We can talk to our pen pals now. And it has been a magical experience for many of them as they are able to directly communicate with people from this country. Amelia related this to her memory of being quite young and absolutely believing that if she dug that hole deep enough, she would get to China. I remember those holes in our backyard. She is absolutely delighting in these exchanges with Chinese users of Red Note. She's getting help with pronunciation on her new venture of learning Mandarin. She has corresponded with this particular young man who complimented her on her pronunciation. And she was immediately suspicious. Her guard went up. What was the motivation in his compliment? She wrote for clarification. And there's this interesting asynchronous fact of this communication, because the US is awake when the Chinese are asleep, and the Chinese are awake when we tend to be asleep. So these exchanges are slowed by the rotation of our Earth, spinning on that hot magma. Actually, Amelia works at night. She is a writer and works at a job that does not identify her, so she is awake when China is awake, so she's able to have more real-time exchanges. Her new pen pal has the English name of David, which is also Amelia's father's name. And he is an aspiring writer and a soldier. They have also that in common. They are both married with families, and they were able to clarify that there was no romantic reason for those compliments. It was friendship and encouragement. And Amelia felt surprised and happy about that, needing a little mental adjustment since her gendered experience of the internet is that it is often not a safe space. She plans to ask him about jade and the cultural context there in China. Amelia's grandparents, David's parents, were rockhounds and did a lot of jade prospecting up in Wyoming. I don't know if you know that. So Amelia loves jade and wants to hear from her new pen pal about that. Now, in talking about these TikTok refugees, I do not want to make light of on-the-ground refugees, right? We know there are many of them around the globe. And I'm not excusing the human rights record of China. They continue to oppress the people of Tibet, as well as the Uyghurs and the Kazakhs, other predominantly Muslim communities. They continue to use national security as a pretext to prevent the exercise of rights, including freedom of expression, freedom of association, and freedom of assembly. Red Note is censored, and there is awareness about that with all these new users. Amelia mentioned an exchange between a US user and a British user that devolved into belligerent name-calling and nationalistic attacks. And that thread was reported and then simply deleted. And there are also real data issues, right? Because everyone knows that Red Note is a Chinese company beholden to the Chinese government who would share their customer data if the government asked them to. There is no evidence that TikTok ever did that or that Red Note will do that, but you might have privacy concerns about how your data is being used in this extremely data-connected world that we live in with incredible surveillance everywhere. The thing is, Amelia and the millions of other US users who have migrated to Red Note know that their data is collected by the app. They also know that data is hoovered up and shared by US social media companies. Meta and Google certainly. Facebook and DoorDash collect more personal data than TikTok ever did. Our Congress tried to pass the American Privacy Rights Act last year in 2024 to establish a comprehensive national data protection authority. We are the only country in the G20 without such a law. But politics, the bill was eviscerated and it never made it out of committee. The US Congress does turn a blind eye to US companies that are misusing people's data. So why am I bringing this to you? On the day before Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, on the day before the inauguration, might it seem trivial? What importance is this to us, to Unitarian Universalists? How does this relate to our values of interdependence and equity, transformation and pluralism, generosity and justice, with love right at the center? It feels important to me to bring it to you. Sometimes we Unitarian Universalists can be so dang sure, so positive that we are right. Sometimes we do engage in groupthink. Sometimes we react instead of responding. Sometimes we can get stuck in our liberal bubble, our media, our friends, and our family groups, our congregations. These are often homogenous groups where we value diversity and we speak and act for justice. We hold anti-racist values, but have not always been able to live into truly multicultural communities. The new Article 2 of bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association define one of our values as transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages. Never complete and never perfect. So this phenomenon is happening right now around us. This cultural exchange of Chinese and U.S. citizens is life-affirming for many of those involved. While not all of those involved are young adults, the high majority of them are. If you are not a young adult yourself in this room, I hope you are in relationship with many, at least a few, young adults that you might talk with about this. So while you might not have learned anything about New Year's resolutions and whether they are helpful to you or not, I hope you have been able to receive these words about this unique cultural phenomenon in a curious spirit. You might know that we are currently in the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and just 10 days from now, January 29th, the Chinese New Year moves us into the Year of the Snake. I suppose if you forgot to make resolutions on January 1st, you could take that other opportunity, but I would say don't. You might just resist that urge and just continue to transform and grow spiritually and ethically, open to change and eager to learn. I invite you to settle into the wisdom of your body and your mind and your spirit, and care for yourself in your home, and care for yourself and others in community. It's what we do here in congregations. And to keep your eyes out for joy and wonder for the unexpected that turns up in our lives. To be open and curious, and to live into that Chinese farmer story of wisdom. Who knows what's good or bad? Amen. May it be so.
We'll let this invitation and these words continue to work in our bodies and spirits while we sing Return Again. Who knows what is coming in the days, weeks, years to come? We don't know. We can't know. We can read, we can watch, we can gather, and most importantly, we can tend to our spirits so that we can choose to respond instead of reacting. To learn, to listen, to watch, to grow, staying centered in our values and who we are called to be in the world. So that's why we've chosen this next hymn, Return Again, which just reminds us that when things feel tumultuous, you have a path. You have a compass always with you, the divine wisdom that leads you to the highest expression of yourself. So will you rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing Return Again? Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return sing any part you like. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to what you are, return to who you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
I neglected to make an announcement earlier, so I want to do it right now before we do our collection. Right after the service in the Sky Room, you're all invited to participate in the Justice Fair. And we have several different social action groups that are affiliated with UUCB who will have tables with information and staffed with people who can tell you about the work that they do. So I hope you can take an extra few minutes and chat with them. This month, our offering goes to SPAN, Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence. In Boulder County, SPAN's shelter has provided safety and support to countless individuals and families seeking a path away from violence. One family's story highlights the importance of the work that SPAN does and the power of community partnerships. A mother arrived at SPAN's shelter with 2 young daughters seeking refuge from an abusive situation. Her partner, involved in drug trafficking, posed a significant danger to her and her children. She had few resources, no safety net, and an urgent need to create a plan for the future. While staying in the shelter, she focused on rebuilding stability for her family. Her ultimate goal was to return to her home country in Latin America, where her mother and extended family could provide the support she needed to start over. However, the journey was not a simple one. She had to secure travel documents and navigate complex international logistics, all while prioritizing her safety and her children's safety. SPAN's team worked closely with her, offering a secure place to stay and emotional support as she took the next steps. They partnered with the embassy of her home country to ensure her documents were in order and to coordinate her safe travel. This collaboration was vital in overcoming the many challenges she faced. During her time with SPAN, her daughters were able to continue their routine and feel a sense of normalcy. They played, learned, and began to feel the safety and stability that had been missing from their lives for so long. Meanwhile, their mother worked with SPAN advocates to finalize her plans and build her confidence. When the day came for their journey home, SPAN was there to see them off, knowing that this marked a turning point in their lives. Upon arriving in her home country, she was reunited with her mother and family. Surrounded by loved ones, she now had the opportunity to rebuild her life with a renewed sense of safety and hope. Stories like this are why SPAN exists. SPAN's shelter, advocacy, and partnerships make it possible for survivors to find safety and create new paths forward. Each person who comes through their doors brings their own challenges and strengths, and our mission is to provide the resources and support that they need to move forward to a brighter future. These efforts are made possible through the generosity and the care of our community. Together, we can ensure that survivors like this mother and their daughter and her daughters have the support they need to find safety, healing, and new beginnings. I invite you to give as generously as you are able. For those of you online, you can use the QR code to find a link in the video description. For those gathered in person, you can scan the QR code or make a donation as the ushers now pass the baskets. May our gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community.
The song that we've chosen to share with you for this time of offering is called In the Name of Love by the band Brother Sun. And we chose it especially for today because it references the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and also ties into stories of the Buddha and even uses some Christian language such as lion and the lamb and making a way out of no way. And these messages kind of tie in to the main message of the song. Sorry, I'm stumbling over this, which reminds me so much of Reverend David's message for those of you who are here at Christmas Eve, that we retell the story of Jesus' birth not because it was the one story that changed everything, but to remind us that every time a person is born, we are opening a way for something miraculous to happen. And so the song ends with the lines, make a way out of no way, let these stories live and breathe, and we will never lack for heroes in our greatest hour of need.
When I get tired, it was like I was dropped into the sea. You could swim your whole life and be nowhere you want to be. Everyone gets tired, and the water is so wide. Then somebody comes and shows you. They show you the other side, the other side. There was a little man, barefoot and frail. He took a walk down to the Ganges. He took a lion by the tail. He made a way out of no way. One by one they saw the truth. He was ready when they told him. They said, history chooses you. We see so far in the name of love. We are standing on, in the name of love, the shoulders of giants. One more in the name of love. Another lion in the land. He walked into the heart of darkness, into the streets of Birmingham. He made a way out of no way. One by one they saw the truth. He was already on the mountaintop when they said, Memphis chooses you. We see so far in the name of love. We are standing on, in the name of love, the shoulders of giants. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. In the name of love. early morning, April 4th. Shots rang out in the Memphis sky. Free at last, they took your life. They could not take your pride. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. Whoa, 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 whoa. So make a way out of no way. Make their stories live and breathe. And we will never lack for heroes in our darkest hour of need. In the name of love, in the name of love, one more in the name of love.
Oh my goodness, can you feel the love in the room? Thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you. So here we are, we've come to the end of this hour, like no other hour. And it's changed because you are here, right? You come into this community and you change it, and it changes you. So feel the love in this room and be shored up by it. And then go out into that world, because there's some hard work to do out there. And then come back again next week, and you do it again in community. Be surrounded by love. Remember that. You are surrounded by love. Blessings. Many, many blessings on each one of you.
Before we sing our sending song, huge thanks to Reverend Ruth for being with us today. I'd like to say a big thank you to the Chancel Cats.
Yes.
That was a big lift
Yes.
for us today, and y'all did it so well. You might not be able to tell from where you are sitting, but Austin is horrendously sick. So we're very, very grateful that he had the fortitude to be with us this morning. You may choose not to greet him after the service. And I just do want to take this moment to say, somebody mentioned in the UUA board meeting this weekend that I was part of, that we're sort of in like a quad-demic right now. So just to reiterate that we are a mask affirmative space, and anytime you would just prefer to be in a mask as we gather, please do take care of yourself in that way. And also, we'll rise to sing our closing song, and human contact is optional. If you feel like you would like to make contact with someone near you, you may open your hands this way, and your hand may be taken or not taken, depending on the preference of the person next to you. If you'd prefer not to make contact, you can always just keep your hands on your chest as some way to indicate to folks that you'd just rather not be touching right now, and we respect your choice and your bodily autonomy. Will you rise in body or in spirit? And we will sing together, "From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. From this house to the world, we will go hand in hand. From this house
dropped into the sea. You could swim your whole life and be nowhere you want to be. Everyone gets tired and the water is so wide. Then somebody comes and shows you. They show you the other side. The other side. There was a little man, barefoot and frail. He took a walk down to the Ganges. He took a lion by the tail. He made a way out of no way. One by one they saw the truth. He was ready when they told him. They said, history chooses you. We see so far in the name of love. We are standing on in the name of love. The shoulders of giants. One more in the name of love. And then there was another lion in the lamb. He walked into the heart of darkness, into the streets of Birmingham. He made a way out of no way. One by one they saw the truth. He was already on the mountain top when they said, Memphis chooses you. We see so far in the name of love. We are standing on in the name of love. The shoulders of giants. One more in the name of love. In the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love. Yeah. Early morning, April 4th, shots rang out in the Memphis sky. Free at last, they took your life. They could not take your bride. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. In the name of love, one more in the name of love. Whoa, whoa, So make a way out of no way. Make their stories live and breathe. And we will never lack for heroes in our darkest hour of need. In the name of love. In the name of love. One more in the name of love.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
We practiced it a lot. We had to do it one more time.